Hello. You were just about to say hello.
Yeah, and then I was still giggling.
Yeah, because we just listened to that song, that one song. I mean, I don't even know what it's actually called. And I know that there's a whole thing on YouTube about oh, you're not supposed to swear at the beginning, but we don't even exist as a channel really. Right. But yeah, the I fucked Cthulhu song.
It
was on Tumblr, but then also on TikTok, it became a thing.
They would people show it to each other and stuff.
Yeah, and we listened to that literally right before starting, so it's just got us thrown off. But hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About Book, where we talk about book and that song apparently.
Yep, and so we got to the intro eventually.
Yes,
after almost an entire minute.
Well, not quite a minute. But yes, we are currently still reading A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, which I just think about the, J.R.R. Tolkien, Rolkin, Tolkien. Yes, and we read 6 chapters this time. I'm not gonna, it's from Eddard to Eddard. There's this section is half Ned. Literally half of the chapters are Ned chapters. And it throws me off every time that it's Eddard in the actual title and not just Ned, because everyone calls them Ned. So it's just but yeah.
And I actually physically read the book instead of listening to the audiobook this time.
Yes, because you have been in book brain.
Yeah, I've been reading the Red Rising series, and I finished the first 3 books last week and the beginning of this week. So I've been majorly in book brain. In book brain. I've been very tense because those books are
intense.
Very intense.
Yeah, and they.
But I'll talk about that again at the end because we'll talk about
in our little we've been reading section. Yep. So I guess we'd previously been doing some what do you remember and whatnot from last time, but now that we're kind of into it a little bit, I feel we've met all the people,
right,
and you still are remembering little things.
Right.
But
and I'll bring it up when I remember it.
Right. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get on into the chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
All right. So we're starting with Ned whatever number. I've completely keeping track of what number each of them is kind of tedious. I will still continue to do so in the video description,
right,
and
with
titles and stuff. But for our own sake, it's just it's a Ned chapter. What chapter number is it? You'll figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, Ned is talking with Grand Maester Pycelle.
Right.
Talking about so what? Tell me about Jon Arryn's illness. What was he doing?
Right, trying to get info on that.
Yeah, just trying to get info. It's very hot that he's
Right.
There's a lot of focus on the heat, how hot it is, and
too sweet. Everything's a little bit too sweet.
Yes, there's always. I feel one of the things that is a difference between the style of George versus Sanderson.
Yeah.
Is that partially Sanderson's just a lot snappier.
Yeah.
Obviously I haven't gotten to Stormlight where it's the big long one, the big epic fantasy one, Mistborn's very snappy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sensory stuff focusing on the heat. Things are too sweet, and it's all the mood, the vibe, the themes. It's
because this area is the kind of, I don't know, it's the kind of the stifling
it's up north, it's it's cold and it's harsh, but we stick together. It's the whole cold exterior, warm interior,
but it's also more free almost.
Yes.
and independent.
Right. While down here it's like it's hot and it's stifling. It's like it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're having to keep track of everything because there's like a million moving parts, and it's like warm exterior, cold interior.
Right.
It's very much the opposite of up north in every way. It's that aspect of it, like the sort of thick sense of like the poeticness of it, the symbolism of everything. There's a lot of like focusing on imagery and symbolism,
right.
sort of like
just like getting across the feeling.
I feel like there's a lot of that in these books, which makes them very like enjoyable for me to read. But it also, it's like, I feel like it's something that gets lost a lot when you're sort of talking about them in this format.
Right, because you're talking more about the plot, the characters, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And there is also focus on like the thematic stuff, but all just like the little tiny details that like compound to build the scene, and which is also part of why they get so long, because we get like a whole long section here just describing like Maester Pycelle and the heat and it's like, do you want this kind of thing, or do you want this kind of thing? Chilled wine, or do you want iced milk with honey or whatever, and just all this. We really take our time. But he's asking him about that sort of stuff. And also just more like, oh, it's so hot. They say that like summer's hottest right before it ends.
Right.
And so like more of this kind of like winter is coming.
Right.
Summer's, this ominous sense that summer is coming to an end.
Yeah.
That has been going on throughout the book so far. And Pycelle talks about King Maekar's summer was hotter than this one. In the 7th year it broke suddenly, and we had a short autumn and a terrible long winter.
Yeah.
Which again is like, summer and winter last for years, but like autumn was very short.
Right.
It's like the seasons are all fucky, and there's no predicting when one will change to another. And just like the strange nature of how the world works. Apparently, I've heard it said, I don't know where this quote comes from though, that George R. R. Martin has said that we will at some point get some sort of explanation as to why the seasons are like this.
Yeah.
Because we've never gotten anything close to that in the actual book so far, even like up to where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's like, we'll get it eventually.
We'll get it eventually.
And it's like, will we?
Yeah.
Will we, George?
Yeah. I saw another thing recently of him saying like, I'm working on it, and I promise the other stuff that I'm doing isn't getting in the way.
Yeah, it's always like the thing is that fucking Google, where it's just like, here's news articles or whatever, and it'll just be like,
when's it from? When's the like?
When's it from? But it's like, it's just like every day there's a new article where it's just like, we asked George R. R. Martin about the book, and he said the same thing he said every fucking other time. I'm working on it. There's never new news, It's like, new news. The answer is fucking nothing.
I think most of the time it's just them reusing the same interview and just, like, making a new article about it.
Yeah.
Like, I swear.
Yeah, it's just like, you gotta keep churning out articles. So it's like, do another one about how Winds of Winter isn't out yet, but we'll get people to look. Oop, is it? No. Still no. But yeah, so asking about Lord Aaron, saying, oh, he didn't seem quite himself. His son was very sickly, and his lady wife so anxious that she would scarcely let the boy out of her sight. And, it's like, maybe he seemed to be worrying about that, and can you tell him about his final illness? He came asking about a book, looking fine as ever, and then, like...
Yeah, it's like a lineage book or something.
Yes. Yeah, because towards the end he's like, hey, what was that book? And it's like some... We do get, like, a name for it.
Yeah, because then he, like, goes and looks for it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll go look for it. And it's some sort of, just, like, the lineages of the royalty of, King's Landing or whatever. But, I've underlined so many things, so I can't find it immediately. But we'll,
I get it.
He's like, so he was looking for a book, and then he suddenly fell ill. The next morning he was twisted over in pain, too sick to rise from bed. I went to him myself, but the gods did not grant me the power to save him. And then he's like, you sent the other Meister away, and he was like, yeah, his wife wasn't happy that I sent the other guy away, but he was like giving him wasting potions, and I feared that he might accidentally kill him, but then he died anyway. And so it's just like,
right,
this sort of like interview, trying to get a sense
like who was there, who could have done something.
Yep, we're in Ned's murder mystery arc where he's having to play detective and figure out what's going on. And we get some, like, details about that. He asked about his final words. Did he have any final words? And he was like, he was calling for Robert, but that could have been his son or the king. Right. Hard to tell. Liza wouldn't let the son in because he's sick, doesn't want the kid to get sick because the kid's been sickly already. Right. So Robert was there, and Aaron said to Robert, the seed is strong. And then he was incomprehensible, like he was slurring his speech. Yeah. And Pycelle was like, it was pretty clear that he was done, and so I gave him the milk of the poppy, and he didn't say anything else. Yeah. And then he died like the next day or whatever. And Ned's like, do you think he was poisoned? And he was like, I don't know. Right. It's like, did anything seem strange about the illness? It's like, I've been doing this for decades. Right. Every illness is like weird. Like they're all different. They're all different. They're all kind of the same. Right. It's like it didn't seem any more unusual than anything else. And it's like poison. I mean, I guess, but like and
but like that's probably just the wife saying it because she's grieving.
Because she's grieving, and it's like. Poison. A disturbing thought. We are not the free cities where such things are common. And just sort of interesting there. That doesn't happen here. That doesn't happen here. That would never happen here. Yeah. Every hedge maester knows the common poisons, and Lord Aaron displayed none of the signs. Maybe it was an uncommon poison.
It's not like we have an infestation of Lannisters.
Yes, an infestation of Lannisters. Oh yes, I have heard it said that poison is a woman's tool, and it said women, cravens, and eunuchs. Yeah. It's just like the weird sort of like, right? The gender of it all, right. Because it is funny because like it comes up because like in one of the later chapters, just like a minor thing where like Sir Roderick's like. I don't like women can do music, but men shouldn't do music.
Yeah. He didn't want to listen to the
bard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lord Varys was born a slave in Lys. Did you know? It's like which is over in Essos where all those poisonings happen. So. Yes, I should be curious to examine the book that you lent. A ponderous tome by Grand Maester Malian. On the lineages of the great houses. I don't think we actually get the like proper name of it until like a later chapter. Yeah. That's why I couldn't find it so easily. Yep, and he's like, yeah, I'll find it for you. It's around here somewhere. And and then he was like, was the queen there when he died? Right. And no, she was not by his side when he died.
He wasn't even in the she wasn't even in the area or something. Right?
She had like left to. Yeah, she and the children were making the journey to Casterly Rock in company with her Lord Father, Lord Tywin, who had brought a retinue to the city for the tourney on Prince Joffrey's name day. So she was traveling with her dad back to their home in Casterly Rock when that happened. So it's like, earlier it says that Jon Arryn said that thing about the seed is strong to both the king and his wife, that they were both there, but they also said that he died the day after that he said that, so she maybe like left like that day or whatever. I don't know if y'all could hear that, but Tilly's like sleeping over there.
She's doing sleep barks.
Shaking. Yeah, she's just.
Yeah, you can see it just barely on the audio.
Yeah, well.
So I don't know if it will actually.
Yeah, we'll see if it actually shows up. It might be too quiet and it'll just get like cut out by the truncated silence or whatever. But yeah, she's just dreaming over there. Yeah, but what was it? So it's like maybe Cersei like he said that and Cersei like immediately like left. with her dad to, like, go to Castle Rock or whatever. Something along those lines. And, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll get you that book. And the queen wasn't there. Yeah, I was like, oh, so sad that he died, and I had to, like, send word or whatever, send a bird off, and it says, dark wings, dark words, which is a phrase that we will hear.
Gotcha.
Because they send ravens to deliver message. Yeah. Dark wings, dark words. It was a proverb old Nan had taught him as a boy. It's like, not always. Sometimes it's good news. Yeah. And he's like, come to me as often as you like, Lord Eddard. I am here to serve. Yes, Ned thought as the door swung shut. But whom?
Right.
It's like, who? Pycelle, who are you really, looking out for? And then he runs into Arya, who is balancing on one foot. Yeah. She's been practicing balancing on one foot.
Yeah, she's been doing a bunch of, like, gymnastics stuff.
Yep, training. Sirius says a water dancer can stand on one toe for hours. Which toe? Any toe! Yeah. And yeah, because she's doing it, like, the top of the stairs, and he's like, you're gonna, like, fall.
Yeah.
It's like a water dancer never falls.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what... And then they immediately start thinking about Bran, of course.
Right.
Yeah, what will Bran do when he's of age? She's worrying about Bran.
Yeah.
And a note beside her. He has years to find an answer, Arya. For now, it is enough to know that he will live. And she's talking about she had a dream about Bran. He was smiling, and he was going to be a knight. And asked, will he still be able to be a knight? No, Ned said. He saw no use in lying to her. Yet someday he would be the lord of a great holdfast and sit on the king's council. He might raise castles, like Brandon the Builder, or sail a ship across the sunset sea, or enter your mother's faith and become the High Septon. He could be the Pope! He could be the Pope! And then he thinks to himself, but he will never run beside his wolf again, he thought, with a sadness too deep for words, or lie with a woman, or hold his own son in his arms.
Yeah.
So it's like, the interesting, like, there's no use lying to her, but he is, like, trying to give it the best spin possible.
Right,
it's
right.
like, will it be a night? No, I can't lie to her. But he could do all these great things.
Right.
And then I'm not going to mention all the, like, bad things. It's
Right.
like Ned's own sort of, like, I don't know, just the sense of who he is as a character. I feel like a lot of the characters in this are very, like, I don't know. You get such a sense for, like, their personality.
Right.
Can I be a king's counselor and build castles and become the High Septon? You will marry a king and rule his castle, and your sons will be knights and princes and lords, and yes, perhaps even a High Septon. No, that's Sansa. And it's like...
Yeah.
She's
like, nah.
It's like, no, I don't want my sons to be those things. I want to be those things. And, but Ned's a little too just, like, status quo.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's sort of, like, one of the kind of part of, I think, his sort of, like, Northern Winterfell attitude is like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah,
you deal with things as they are. Not so much try and, like, change them.
Right.
But it's like, things could be different. Ollie's, like, in between us.
She's standing on my foot. She's, like, pushing off of my foot.
Yes. She's, like, laying in between us, but then she's, like, stretching out and, like, pushing against us. She's just, like, we have a couple of very sleepy pups today, which is good for recording, because... it means they're not causing trouble. But it does mean that they're being very cute and distracting. Very cute. Which is, being disruptive in its own way.
Her nose is just all dug into the blankets.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright. And then Peter Baelish shows up.
Yeah.
Someone tells Jon, hey, Peter Baelish wants to talk to you. And so then they go and talk. And he's like, I have some leads for you.
Right. Yeah, he, like, points out a few different people.
Yeah, some people who are, like, sort of close to Jon Arryn.
Yeah.
Like, in that they were, like, around him daily.
And, like, pointed out some spies.
Yes.
But, like, I don't think he pointed out all of the spies.
Oh, no, I'm sure. I'm sure he didn't point out all the spies. It's more just
purpose.
Like... yeah, I mean,
like, I don't know.
yeah, it's like, whether it's even just, like, to me, the vibe wasn't even like, here's all the spies. It's just like,
that there
just
are.
Like, hey, remember and
pay attention.
And pay attention that there are spies around, you know. It's like, obviously, Littlefinger also has spies, and I'm sure he didn't point out any of them that were his.
The thing is, I feel like Ned immediately is like, yes, there's lots of spies. Now let's forget about the fact that there are spies.
Yeah, well, it's just like, what am I supposed to do about it? And it's like, well, maybe be on the lookout.
Be a little careful.
Be a little careful and, like, think about, like, are people suspicious? But Ned doesn't. He's like, I don't know how to, like, sniff out a spy. But yeah, and so he lists off some people, one of them
Honestly, you should probably talk to Arya.
Yeah, you know?
Like...
Honestly, Arya would be a good little, like, counter spy for him, probably. Arya, go
and
just,
she
like,
would have a blast with that.
Yeah,
like...
you can... It's like, hey, Arya, go, like, just scamper around the castle and tell me things that you hear.
Although we wouldn't want another Bran, so, you know.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I thought about it for another few seconds.
Yep, that is the worry. But yeah, so he lists, like, some various people, one of them being Lord Aaron's squire.
Yeah.
And Ned's, especially...
He's supposed to be, like, in the tourney.
Yes, because it's like, Ned takes special notes, like, Squire is particularly close, and also he became knighted after Lord Aaron died. So it's like,
gotcha.
There's a little, you know, he was a squire, then Lord Aaron dies, then he immediately gets knighted, so it's a little suspicious. Yep. And then he points out the spies, and he's like, that one's Lord Varys's, that one's the Queen's.
Right.
Yeah, the Roadkeep is full of eyes. Why do you think I hid Cat in a brothel? Is there a man in your service who you trust utterly and completely? Yes, Ned said. In that case, I have a delightful palace in Valyria that I should dearly love to sell you. The wiser answer was no, my lord. Send this paragon of yours to Sir Hugh and the others. Yeah.
I like the different variations on that phrase. Like,
yes.
Like have a bridge to sell you or whatever.
Yeah.
I hear a lot now. Like I have a meme coin. Or like I have a coin.
Yes.
To sell you, like something like that.
Yeah, I've got a cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So that's
like
great. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Because Valyria fully like exploded.
Got you.
I don't know if we've actually like had that explained.
I don't know.
Yeah, we just know that Valyria, like, I think Dany's maybe talked about how there was the doom of Valyria, but I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm like, what's actually, because there's so many things I'm like, yeah, this is just
common knowledge
about Game of Thrones. Right. I'm like, have they actually like said or explained that yet? Because while George does explain things, he does do a little bit of just like, well, they know, and they're not gonna like explain that to you. You know, they'll just, like make references to historical figures and not really like explain it too much, but it just adds like, ooh, a little bit of like flavor. Yeah. But boy, like one of these upcoming chapters, like sort of going through it to underline, and I'm like, and then here's just a bunch of names. Here's just a bunch of tourney stuff, jousting, riveting jousting. But yeah. Yeah, and then he's like, you know what? Thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
He's like, perhaps I was wrong to distrust you. You were slow to learn, Lord Eddard. Distrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you climbed down off your horse. Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
He's just, like, pretty straight up and down about it. He's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not trustworthy.
Ned is like... But you're nice. That means I can trust you, right?
Yeah. Ned, you can't just... It's like, why would he help me if he would?
He seems pretty nice.
He seems pretty nice.
That guy seems kind of mean. Probably don't want to trust him. Mm-hmm. That guy seems pretty nice. Kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Was nice to me once.
Yep. Just like...
I overall don't think very well of them, but was nice to me once, so...
so, you know, that counts for something. Yep, and so that's Ned's chapter. Do you have any thoughts or theories about what happened with Jon Arryn?
No, I mean, it's probably Cersei. She'd be doing shit.
She'd be doing shit. That is very much true. All right, so we'll go on to the next chapter. All right, it's a Jon chapter, and it's
one of the few times we're away from King's Landing in this whole section.
In this section, we stay pretty like just around King's Landing for this little section, but we do go over to Jon, and we get to meet George R. R. Martin, aka Samwell Tarly.
Oh.
Because he has said, if there's any character in Game of Thrones that he is most like it is Samwell Tarly.
I mean, I feel like it's how most people would be like, to be honest.
Yes.
Like, he's just chill and wants to chill and doesn't want to be doing this.
Yep. Like, Sam is great. He's the kind of character who I'm sure a certain type of person would really hate, you know? Like, because of the whole... oh, he's a coward, and all that kind of shit, you know? The people who don't like Usopp.
Yeah.
You know?
The psychos?
Yes, right? But, you know, we get to meet Sam, and...
I did remember Sam from my first read and from the show, but I kind of forgot until... he was introduced, and I'm like, right, I knew we were missing something here. Yep,
because John's actually, like, making friends now.
Right.
And we see that he's got some, like, friends here. He's friends with, like, Pip and Gran.
And here's where he kind of starts to realize, like, what his uncle was talking about in, like, kind of brotherhood.
Yes.
And stuff at the wall or whatever.
Yep.
And, like, seeing them as family.
Right. Yeah, because it's, like... because it starts, he's showing one of the guys how to like do a sword fighting thing. He's actually like teaching them now instead of just like beating them up in the yard.
Right.
He's not just beating them up during practice. He's actually like helping teach them, and so we're sort of seeing that change and how like more people like him are hanging out with him,
and how people are getting more competent and stuff and confident.
Yep. And so Sam shows up, and Pip is able to clock where he's from. He's from near Highgarden, and we do find out that their house is like one of the like houses under House Tyrell, which we've heard some talk of over in King's Landing.
Yeah. Immediately I think of House Tyrell, and I think of Natalie Dormer, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought that you were going to say
that. I hear Tyrell and I immediately see like Natalie Dormer.
Yeah, as Marjorie Tyrell.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're not treating Sam well.
Right.
They're being mean to him. The Master at Arms, who's an asshole, has him, gets him some armor, has him fight someone, and he's like, I yield, and then they just have him keep fighting.
Beating him up.
And then eventually John's like, alright, knock it out.
Yeah, that's enough.
Knock it out. Knock it off. Cut it out.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Knock it out.
Knock it out.
Knock it out of the park. I think his name's like Alistair. Yeah, Sir Alistair. Not Alistair, just Alistair. They have like these names, some of them, they're just like a little off from a name that you know, because it's fantasy. Or maybe because it's older English, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was very inspired by like actual English history and stuff. But he's annoyed because they're listening to Jon instead of him. And he's like, alright, how about this? Jon, you protect Sam, and I'm going to have 3 people.
Right.
Come at you.
And then, like, a couple people join him, right?
Yep, Pip and Gran come and... Gran? No, Gran.
Yeah.
Come and join him. They're like, we'll help you out. And then they have, like, a little fight. And they keep Sam safe. Fighting happens. It is described.
Right.
Alistair Thorne is upset still. He's like, alright, fucking fine. Practice is over. And... Sam and Jon talk a little bit. Being like, I'm Samwell Tarly of Horn. I mean, I was of Horn Hill until I've come to take the Black, saying there's bannerman for the Tyrells. He's just like struggling to to make conversation.
Super shy.
It's like, if you want, you can call me Sam. My mother calls me Sam. You can call him Lord Snow. Gren's the ugly one, Pip said. You're uglier than me, at least I don't have ears like a bat. And they're just...
Yeah, just...
bickering and bantering and stuff. Because Pip's like a circus kid. And Gren's just dumb. I don't know. That's their dynamic. And, yeah, and then he's like, why didn't you fight when you get up and fight? I wanted to, I just couldn't. I fear I'm a coward, my lord father always said so. What sort of man would proclaim himself a coward? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like this. Or to be like I am.
Just like, I'm Usopp.
Yep, and he's like, tomorrow you'll do better. No, I won't. I never do better. He's just fully lacks self-confidence.
Yeah.
And, Jon feels real bad for him. And,
doesn't even have Usopp's fake confidence.
No, he doesn't have, like, Usopp's fake confidence. He doesn't have, like, his, like, lies and things like that. Or, like, his, Sam does have skills. We just haven't, like, gotten to it yet. But Sam, in a weird way, like, he's thinking about Sam, and then he also thinks about Tyrion. Most men would rather deny a hard truth than face it, the dwarf had told him, grinning. The world was full of cravens who pretended to be heroes. It took a queer sort of courage to admit to cowardice, as Samwell Tarly had. So it's like, he's honest.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I know. I know what I'm like. He's like, I don't have self-confidence, but I do know...
I do have self-awareness.
Self-awareness. And shows Sam Ghost, the direwolf sigil of my father's house. Ours is a striding huntsman. Do you like to hunt? I hate it. And then he looks like he's about to cry. Why are you all so afraid? And we come to find out that he was basically threatened by his father.
Right.
Like, you'll die in a hunting... Either you, quote, die in a hunting accident, or you go to the wall.
Yeah.
Because, like, when it's time for dinner, Sam, like, kind of doesn't want to join them and goes outside, and Jon follows and talks to him.
Yeah.
And, like, opens up to Sam some, like, they talk, and he... Like, Sam is, like, crying. Why would a coward want to join the Night's Watch? And then Sam starts crying, and then Ghost licks Sam.
Yeah, and starts laughing.
And then he starts talking to him about, like, Winterfell and his family, and about this, like, dream that these recurring dreams that he has of, being back in Winterfell and, like, searching for everyone, but they're not there, and he gets, like...
And it's all empty.
And he goes down into, like, the crypts, and he's like, I'm no...
Like, I'm not even a Stark, why am I here?
And then he,
like, wakes up.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Mm-hmm. That's an odd dream.
It is. And it's very much like...
And it's a recurring dream, yeah?
Right. It's like a recurring dream, and he'll be, like, looking for different people, but each time he can't find them. And he thinks about Benjen. They've sent some people out to go look for him.
Yeah.
Jeremy Rykar and Corin Halfhand had, like, led...
Didn't they send Benjen out to look for someone else?
Yes! Yes! Yeah, but they'd found nothing aside from a few blazes in the trees that his uncle had left to mark his way. In the stony highlands to the northwest, the marks stopped abruptly and all trace of Ben Stark vanished. So it's just like, you can follow his trail and then just... Gone. And it's not looking too good, but he it's like, do you dream of Horn Hill? No, I hated it there. And then he explains his whole thing that, like, he was the firstborn, he was the heir, but he grew up to be Sam.
Yeah,
to just be like a sweet, kind boy who likes loved to listen to music and make his own songs, to wear soft velvets, to play in the castle kitchen beside the cooks. His passions were books and kittens and dancing, clumsy as he was.
Yeah.
But he grew ill at the sight of blood and wept to see even chicken slaughtered. And then they go on about how, like, all the things that they tried to do to get him to be brave.
Yeah.
They just, like, were really awful to him.
Yeah.
Beating the shit out of him, trying to humiliate him, trying to, one time, 2 men came to the castle, warlocks from Karth, with white skin and blue lips. They slaughtered a bull and made me bathe in the hot blood, but it didn't make me brave, as they'd promised. I got sick and wretched. Father had them scoured, or scourged. Yeah. But then eventually, his wife had a second son, and so then he was like, great, I'm gonna put all my attention into this second son, and gave him the ultimatum, that I'm either gonna kill you, or you can go, join the Night's Watch.
Right.
And, so, it's like, Jon now, like, understands
why he's there,
and kind of why he is the way he is.
Right.
You know, it's like, he's just a chill dude. He's just a regular, normal guy. Who, you know, didn't want to be this big, strong warrior.
Right.
You know, because it's like, oh, they have this, like, sword that's been, like, passed down through their family, Heartsbane.
Yeah.
Big two-handed Valyrian steel sword. It's like, you know, you're not even worthy to touch its hilt or whatever. And, yeah. Yeah, and it's like, we should, and Jon's like, we should go back inside. Just like, you know,
gets him to come over with the other people and stuff.
Yeah, well, he wants him to, but Sam's like, no, they wouldn't want me there. And he's like, he goes, like, off to, like, bed.
Oh.
And then Jon goes in and, like, talks to them and like...
Right.
They're like, oh, yeah.
Gets them to, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, he could have sat here. There was space for him, but he just didn't. Like, oh, he must think he's better than us.
Yeah.
Calling him Piggy and all sorts of stuff. And then Jon snaps at them and is like, enough of that. And then he's going around...
yeah, he gets them to, like...
leave him alone.
Right. Like, not, like, beat him up and stuff.
Yeah, not beat him up when they're practicing and whatnot.
Right. But one of them's like, nah, I'm still gonna do it. So then he, like, scares the shit out of him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He's, because he's going around convincing people. It says, Jon persuaded some, cajoled some, shamed the others, made threats where threats were required. At the end, they all agreed, all but Rast. Hours later, as the castle slept, three of them paid a call on his cell. Gren held his arms while Pip sat on his legs, and, like, Ghost, like, nips at his neck.
Yeah.
Just enough to make him bleed, but not to really, like, hurt him. And then, remember, we know where you sleep, Jon said softly. and then from that day forth, neither Rast nor any of the others would hurt Samwell Tarly. Yep, Jon, he's...
Yeah, and then the Swordmaster guy is, like, yelling at him to do it anyway, and they're like,
nope.
We're more scared of him than we are of you. You have no control here.
He's got a big, scary wolf.
Yep.
Did you see that? You see how he's got, like, a big, scary wolf?
And it only listens to him.
It only listens to him.
And it, like, fucking protects him, and, like...
and it's, like, silent and stealthy. Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to mess with the wolf.
Right. And you know, Sam's like, you know, he knows what's up. He's like, I know that you, like, did something. I don't know what you did, but I know you did it. I've never had a friend before. We're not friends. We're brothers. And, yeah. And so they were. He thought to himself after Sam had taken his leave, Robb and Bran and Rickon were his father's sons, and he loved them still. Yet Jon knew that he was never truly been one of them. Catelyn Stark had made sure of that.
Yeah.
But his brothers were Sam and Gren and Halder and Pip, and the other cast-outs who wore the black of the Night's Watch. My uncle spoke truly, he whispered to Ghost. Yep, yeah. So it's like, he's like...
He did kind of find, like, what he wanted there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's like, you know, actually...
In a different way.
In a different way. It's like, it's not what he thought, but it's like, this is actually good.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's making friends, and he doesn't, like, he still has to worry about all the, like, bastard and, like, lord stuff, but it's like, it's different. The dynamic has shifted. He doesn't have to deal with the weird family tension stuff. And he's like, I can be my own person out here.
Yeah, it's less important there.
It's less important there. It's like, you know, like Tyrion said, I just gotta, like, not let it get to me.
Yeah.
Which, you know, also could have been the case back home, but, like, coming out here, it's like, it's a fresh start. Yeah. Yep. And so, yeah, Jon's... And
you don't have Catelyn being
a bitch. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. He's out here making friends and being a little, you know, a little lord. He's calling the shots.
I keep trying to give Catelyn, like, more of a benefit of the doubt, like, just more, like,
right.
leeway. I keep trying, and then every time I do, she's Catelyn, and I want to
yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Holly, I didn't mean to scare you.
No, I feel like that really is how Catelyn is. Like, Catelyn, there's definitely people who, like, fucking hate her,
Like,
and others who are cat defenders, but like there's still like an understanding.
The problem is I want to be a defender, and I'm a hater. I want to,
because Catelyn's not the worst.
No, she's not.
But she's just like, but it's like, you should be better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to her.
We will. We'll get to her. I don't think I even really highlighted a ton in her chapter.
There's not really much going on there.
There's not really much, but it's like there's not really much, but also there's a lot at the same time.
Yeah.
There's not much, but it's big. All right, so that's the Jon chapter, and now we're on to another Ned chapter, and the commander of the City Watch. Janos Slint is like, I need more City Watch people because the tourney's happening and there's a lot more people and it's like making more crime and stuff because like, you know, for every night that comes they bring like others with them. They're like retinue,
a whole group,
and then like thieves come,
families, and
and then there's like you know, thieves who want to, like, you know, because merchants are also coming. Yep, thieves want to take advantage of it because like merchants are coming and like other people are coming. Everyone's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, hire 50 new men. Lord Baelish will see that you get the coin. I will? You will.
Yeah, you got the money to throw it, so get the money to make it safe.
Yep. Yep. And, yeah, Renly's like, we're fortunate my brother Stannis is not here. Remember that time he proposed to outlaw brothels? The king asked him if perhaps he'd like to outlaw eating, shitting, and breathing while he was at it. Yeah. And that's like, yeah, where is Stannis? Because he's supposed to be on this council, but he's over in Dragonstone. And like, when's he coming back? And they're like, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Where's Dragonstone again?
Dragonstone...
That was something I was thinking when I was...
Dragonstone is like an island. It's like a little island off the coast. I believe it's... because King's Landing... is where the king landed, but yeah, the Dragonstone's this little island here.
Gotcha.
And it's like near, like, it's like at the entrance of like the bay that is where King's Landing's at.
Okay.
Yeah, because King's Landing's right there, and there's like a bay, and then there's Dragonstone, and so it's like Stannis is over there, and they're all right there.
Gotcha.
Yep, because it's like the I believe it's like the Targaryens had Dragonstone. They like, the Targaryens fled when like Valyria fell, and they landed on Dragonstone, set up there, and then they like came and conquered the rest of Westeros, like starting at King's Landing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then that's where the castle ended up being sent, but Dragonstone is sort of like the precursor. Okay. They're like, we had Dragonstone, and then
and then moved the capital, basically.
Yep. Yeah, because like at that point it was just like, we have one island, and then there's these kingdoms, and then we've conquered all those kingdoms, and so now
here's our seat of power.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, so they're talking about the tourney and what they're gonna do, and then when that's done, Ned goes back to his chambers and he gets the lineages and histories of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms with descriptions of many high lords and noble ladies and their children by Grand Maester Malion. So that's the book.
Right.
And he's like, he was right. This book is boring. But there's something. He got this book. There's something there. He got this book for a reason. Yeah, but there was something here. Some truth buried in these brittle yellow pages. If only he could see it. But what? Yeah. And he's looking at the section on House Lannister. They're an old family, tracing their descent back to Lan the Clever, a trickster from the Age of Heroes, who is no doubt as legendary as Bran the Builder, though far more beloved of singers and tale-tellers in the songs. Lan was the fellow who winkled the Casterlys out of Casterly Rock with no weapon but his wits, and stole gold from the sun to brighten his curly hair. So they have these kinds of, like, founding myth figures for their, like, houses. Like, Bran the Builder is for the Starks, and Lan the Clever is sort of, like, the founder of House Lannister. And they have these sort of, like, the Age of Heroes and these, like, founding, like, myths.
Figures.
Mm-hmm. And it's, like, it's unclear how true, how historical these figures are, honestly. I feel like I see theory people kind of take them for granted, and I'm like, like, Lan fucking stole gold from the sun to make his hair yellow. That feels a little, mythological, hyperbolic, But, speaking of theory stuff, there's a channel, Glidus, and he had a video on, how many legs should dragons have? Because he was like, in Game of Thrones specifically, the dragons have 2 legs and 2 wings. They do not have 4 legs and wings. And he was talking about, like, how people be like, isn't that technically a wyvern? and so he was talking about, like, the history of dragons. And apparently, like, specifically in English heraldry, they defined that a dragon had 4 legs and wings, and a wyvern had 2 legs and wings. But that was a thing specific to England and English heraldry during a particular period. And so that's sort of where people's distinctions come from. And so it makes sense why in the English-speaking world we have this notion of, like... But it's like, but guess what? Dragons are made up. Right. They can be whatever. But then he goes into, like, so, in the show, here's all the times that they have 4-legged dragons instead of 2-legged dragons. And it's just kind of funny. So he's looking at that, he's reading the book, and, and then it's, like, finding out about, like, what was Jon Arryn doing, what he'd been up to. He sent his, Ned sent his guy, like, Jory Castle.
To, like, check on some people.
Yeah, it's, like, the people that, like, Peter Baelish had been talking about. He was like, go check on them, go talk to them, and he's, like, telling Ned what they had to say, which isn't much, not much useful, but, Jon Arryn had gone with the king's own brother, to... some, like, smith, and gotten some, like, really, like, fancy, like... Armor from the guy. And he went to that smith with Lord Renly. Not Lord Renly. Lord Stannis. And it's like, that's odd. He often went riding with Lord Stannis. And it's like, what's Stannis got to do with this? Where did they go on these rides? The boy says that they visited a brothel. A brothel? The Lord of the Eyrie and Hand of the King visiting a brothel with Stannis Baratheon? And he's like, what is going on here? Stannis, and talking about, like, everyone knows that fucking Robert is horny as hell. That he's fucking everyone. But Stannis was different. A bare year younger than the king, yet utterly unlike him. Stern, humorless, unforgiving, grim, in his sense of duty. Which brothel? I don't know. This is fucking one of them. It's like, are we gonna, like, get Lord Stannis over here? You gonna summon him from Dragonstone? It's like, no, I need to figure out if he's, like, really involved with this or not.
He's like, not yet.
And it's like, why did he leave? Did he have some part in Jon Arryn's murder, or was he afraid? Ned found it hard to imagine what would frighten Stannis Baratheon, who had once held Storm's End through a year of siege, surviving on rats and boot leather, while the Lords Tyrell and Redwyne sat outside with their boats, banqueting inside of his walls. So it tells you just, like, a little bit about, like, we just get these, like, little tidbits about what the war was like. And also what kind of guy that Stannis is to, like, Stannis and Robert both as, like, competent, like, war figures, you know. Because, I mean, he's Lord of there right now, so he clearly held it. Yep. And... yeah, and so he talks to Renly. Yeah, Ned's, like, thinking about, like, Renly, because he's also thinking about Stannis. He was thinking about Renly, and he was like... Renly had, like, shown him, like, little, like, locket that had the image of Marjorie Tyrell in it. And was like, does she look like someone to you? And he was like, I don't know. It's like, oh, you know, said that she looked kind of like Lyanna.
Gotcha.
It's like, no, she doesn't really. And he's like, Renly looks so much like Robert, and then he's like showing me this girl who supposedly looks like Lyanna is, you know, what's... Yeah. Like, is he trying to be like Robert and, like, find a Lyanna of his own?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could it be that Lord Renly, who looked so like a young Robert, had conceived a passion for a girl he fancied to be a young Lyanna? That struck him as more than passing queer. So he's like, why is Renly just like, hey, check out this lady, doesn't she look like Lyanna?
Right.
So it's like, he suspicions in all these weird directions. And yeah, it's just like, now what? I don't know. We could go checking out brothels and see if we can.
Yeah.
If there are any leads. But then he goes out into the city, and we see some, like, lords coming in for the tourney. Lord Beric. People are shouting, Lord Beric, Lord Beric, and he's like, I'm here to win the hands tourney. Just sort of, you know, the general fanfare in the city. And, you know, descriptions of the streets and going to, like, the markets and whatnot, because he goes and he finds Tobo Mott, who's the guy that Lord Aaron got that fancy armor from. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he also went and talked to the boy. He's like, oh, I also want to see the boy. Yeah. That's like, I have no clue what you're talking about, but hell yeah. Because he's like, Lord Aaron would never get that fancy of armor. Why would he... Why is he going to talk to this, like, armory? And it's because of this boy who... Through, like, looking at him and talking to him, he's like, this is one of Robert's bastards.
Right.
This is one of his random children.
Right.
Scattered about. And he's like, he had been questioned by Lord Aaron. Stannis was also there, but didn't ask him anything. And I also like, he's like, did Lord Stannis question you as well? The bald one? No, not him. And... yeah, Ned's like, touched the boy's head, fingering the thick black hair. The apprentice lifted his face. Ned studied the shape of his jaw. The eyes, like blue ice. Yes, he thought, I see it. Who paid the boy's apprentice fee? And he's like, oh, you know, he's just a real good boy. Yep. So I let him in.
Yep, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. And it's like, no, tell me the truth. And it's just like, I don't know, a lord. He gave me, like, double the money and was like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
It's like, you know who this boy is. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't know. No, you know. It's like, listen, whoever he was, not important. He's my apprentice now. Yep. And that's like, all right, fair enough. And Gendry had, like, made a helmet. He made like a helmet with, like, bull horns. And Ned was like, oh, this is really nice. Maybe I should, buy it from you or whatever. And he's like, no, this is for me.
This is mine,
This is mine. I made it for myself. And, the
guy's, like, really, like, offended. He's like, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. You should be nice or whatever. It's like, no, it's fine. It's fine, no offense. He's like, if the day ever comes when Gendry would rather wield a sword than forge one, send him to me. He has the look of a warrior. And he's like, what did Jon Aaron want with one of Robert's bastards? What, like, the mystery continues.
Right.
So it's like, Jon Aaron has this book like the lineages, and he's
trying to figure something
out.
Yeah.
He's like looking into one of Robert's bastards for whatever reason, and then he like dies suddenly. It's like, what's happening here? Yeah. Anything you want to say about this chapter?
Nah.
Yeah. And then Catelyn. Oh, Catelyn. They're on the road, and it's all rainy.
I don't think I read this chapter super well. Like, I did read it.
Right.
But...
Yeah, it's basically just
I read it fairly quickly.
It's rainy, but it's nice warm rain. You'd like it.
Yeah, I love warm rain. I love summer rains. Like, rain in spring, fall, winter suck. Well, winter is like snow, sleet.
Right.
But summer rains I love.
Yeah. And it's a nice summer rain down in the Riverlands. She's like, I grew up in the Riverlands.
Yeah,
like,
this is like just chill.
This is chill. Love this. This is great. Yeah. Me and my sister would make mud pies and feed them to Peter Baelish. He got sick from eating mud, and I'm like, I had forgotten about this little story that she remembers.
That reminds me of my nephew telling stories of me and my sister and one of my nieces growing up.
Yeah.
Because we grew up with my nieces and nephews are the same age as me and my sister.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, don't you mean your cousins? Like,
no,
they are not my cousins. I promise you, they are my nieces and nephews.
Yeah. I've got some siblings who are like much older than me.
Yep.
And not, all of my nieces and nephews are a good bit younger than me, but it's, But yeah, and she's like, we're coming up to a crossroad, and there's an inn there. And the knight that's with her, who is named something...
Roderick?
Yes, Roderick. Is like, yeah, we probably shouldn't stay at an inn because we don't want to get recognized.
Yeah, they're like just trying to be stealthy.
Trying to lay low. And then like...
Catelyn, you were trying to be stealthy.
Like
you were trying to lay low. That was the entirety of this chapter was you trying not to be recognized.
It's like... To just, like, jump ahead to that point, it's like...
Because that's what this chapter is.
The moment she gets spotted, she makes a huge scene. It's such a D&D player move of getting spotted and being like, alright, jig's up!
The thing is, like, knowing Tyrion, he, like, might have just, like, if she would have just, like, probably avoided... And, like, he might not have drawn attention to it.
Yeah.
He might have, but he might not have.
Well, it's also just like, oh, hey, Catelyn. And she's like, hey, if she had just been chill.
Yeah, just been a normal...
And it's just like, what are you doing down here? It's like, oh, I mean, my family's out this way.
Yeah.
Just like she could have made any excuse, but no, she's like, instead... I accuse you of murder. All of you random knights and stuff around here, you're bannermen to my dad, so you have an obligation to get him. Like, because most of this chapter...
And you talked in the previous conversation with your husband, you're like, okay, right, we can't do anything about this dagger because there's not enough information about it. That was the entire thing. That's the entire reason you're not still in King's Landing. Is why you went back home.
Yep.
Lady.
Yep, and earlier in the chapter, because the thing is that this chapter, there's a lot of just, like, her remembering, like... It's like, oh yeah, in the Riverlands, like, these are the houses.
Yeah, and like some of them like aren't that loyal. Are not super,
Right. Yeah, because it's like, because when they're like on the road or whatever, like some night, like Malister and his folks like ride by and they don't recognize her.
Yeah.
And because they're all travel worn and stuff, it's like, yeah, so don't worry about it. We're totally won't get recognized even a little bit. And she's remembering all the different bannermen. And there's like a whole list of them, and I'm just like, the Blackwoods, the Brackens, Lady Went, who dwelled in Harrenhal, and Lord Frey, who had outlived 7 wives, and had just so many children and grandchildren and whatnot, and... Yeah, the Darys, the Rygers, and Mootons had sworn oaths to Riverrun as well, yet they had fought with Rhaegar Targaryen on the Trident, while Lord Frey had arrived with his levies well after the battle was over, leaving some doubt as to which army he had planned to join.
Yeah.
And so then they started calling him the late Walder Frey, or the late Lord Frey. and, you know, they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna lay low. I'm not gonna call you my lady. You know, say that, you know, you're my daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna lay low. It'll totally be fine. And then they're, like, immediately found out. I mean, not immediately. They are there, and they're, like, talking to random people, and there's, like, that bard who they talk to.
Yeah.
Marillion, I believe his name is. And, you know, that bard ends up, like, getting Tyrion's attention, and then Tyrion sees Catelyn.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, it's you. And also Catelyn earlier had been like, yeah, we're at the crossroads. We could go one way to where my dad is, and I could ask my dad about this, but he's been bedridden for years, so I don't want to bother him with it. If I go the other way, I could go to the Vale and up to the Eyrie, but
I don't have the people for it.
I don't have enough people for it because it's a dangerous path. There's shadow cats, which I imagine are just like panthers or something.
Yeah.
And my sister's up there, and she maybe has like more information because, you know, she couldn't write everything down in that letter or whatever. So she maybe has more information, and that could be good. Or, you know, maybe my father could say something. But no, I just need to go north. Need to go to Winterfell.
Get back home.
Because she's like, if I can just get up north and get to one of the bannermen, I can be like, hey, go do those things that Ned was talking about.
Right.
You know, like rallying forces, getting things prepared, getting this information back to Winterfell or whatever. But no, I'm gonna fucking arrest Tyrion.
Right.
Right here, right now, baby.
Cause an international incident.
Cause an international incident, you know. I mean, you know, they're ostensibly one, you know, they're a United States situation.
Yeah.
They're the Seven Kingdoms combined as one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just causing an international incident by arresting the son of one of the most powerful houses in the Seven Kingdoms, and also the fucking Queen's family.
Probably the most powerful.
Oh, for sure.
I think the Lannisters are, you know.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, ostensibly you would say that it's like the Baratheons because he's the king, but like really it's the Lannisters because the Lannisters
they have the money and the like
people everywhere.
Not just the people, they have the king.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because it's like Robert's not really king.
Right, and it's not really like the Baratheons. He's fully like.
Yeah, it's like all the Lannisters really are kind of the power behind the throne in a lot of ways. Yeah. Yeah, it's like
especially with the money.
Right, like, especially with the money, because they're so in debt. They're in so much debt.
Yeah.
To the Lannisters and to the Iron Bank.
They own the whole thing, and then they also own the king emotionally.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's basically the Catelyn.
Yeah.
That's basically the Catelyn chapter. Yeah. Because Tyrion just like shows up and it's just like, you know, like, oh,
he's just chilling.
He's just chilling. It's like, oh, the place is empty. We can just sleep in the stables or whatever. No, it's really full. And he throws some gold around. Anyone? And someone's like, I'll give you my room.
Yeah.
And she's like, drat. Gotta cause an international incident. And this is just to continue to harp on the color of it all. The innkeeper here has red teeth.
Oh. I don't think I noticed that. She
chews something called sour leaf. She's always chewing on it. It has stained her teeth red. And so she has a creepy red smile.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just a little, like, he just likes doing that.
Yeah.
Just, like...
A little bit of color.
A little bit of color. Just these, like... And so it's just something that, like... When you compare it to the show, you really see the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Because I was just, like, rereading it, and I was like, I had totally forgotten about this lady's weird red teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just chewing tobacco, I guess?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Catelyn's chapter. And so we move on to Sansa and the tourney.
Yeah.
Lots of tourney stuff happening. Like all the jousting.
Yeah. All the names, I'm gonna tell you, they flew over my head. Didn't remember any of them.
Oh yeah. They really kind of go in one ear out the other. But yeah, like, sort of part of the, like, mood stuff that I was talking about before.
Other than, there was an L-named one that Sansa liked.
Yes, Loras.
Yeah.
Yeah, Loras is, you know, they mention him especially a lot, so it's good that you remember.
I think there's a Loras in Red Rising. So I think when I was, like, reading it, I, like, kept...
yeah, it, like, stood out.
But I'm not sure if that actually is his name.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, some of the, like, tone and, like, mood stuff that I was talking about before.
No, it's Lorne.
Lorne?
It's Lorne Arcos.
Lorne Arcos.
So
it's like,
I just kind of...
When Sansa's riding to the tourney, they're in, like, the litter, and... Which, like, lighter?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I think people normally say litter.
Yeah, and I'm just like... Whenever I read this before, I'm like, what does that mean?
I did that when I read Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And I had to look it up.
Yeah, because it's like, I grew up with cats, so litter means a specific thing, you know? But I mean, also, you can have, like, a litter of puppies or whatever. But it has a curtain of yellow silk, so fine she can see right through it. They turn the whole world gold. She's got, like, rose-tinted glasses, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's enamored with all the knights, and she's like, it's better than the songs. They watch the heroes of 100 songs ride forth, each more fabulous than the last, and she's just looking at them all.
She has another magical day until it's not.
Yep, another magical day until it's not, but it's not quite the same.
It's not as bad as, you know.
Yeah, but it's wild.
Yeah.
It is wild, though. But yeah, it's like Jaime, he's all like gold from head to toe, with a lion head helm and a golden sword. Gregor Clegane is the mountain that rides, and he's huge. He's almost 8 feet tall. We get described later. He's fully, like, he's 7, closer to 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that's huge.
And just, like, a bunch of other random people. Lord Jon Royce. It's Yohn. It's like John, but Jan.
Yeah. I recognize Royce.
Yeah.
Like that name.
Yeah, it's like, well, Royce. I know that it comes up. I know that's just like one of those like houses that you like.
It's familiar.
Yeah, because I'm like, I have a name coming to mind, but I'm like, have we met that person yet or not? I don't know.
It might be someone that I haven't met yet, but I just know from hearing it around.
Was the guy at the beginning of the book who got killed, was he a Royce that night? Yeah, Sir Waymar Royce. He was.
I was like, there's a compound name, like, before Waymar.
Yeah, Waymar. Because like that name was in my head, but I'm like, is that? Yeah, that's the guy in the prologue. The night
I had the rhythm, Royce. But I just couldn't figure out what
the name. Yep. So he doesn't. Yeah, this guy doesn't even know. He doesn't even know probably that his whatever relation,
cousin or something,
out
or whoever else,
up in the north, is fucking dead to White Walkers. Yep. So that's and the warrior priest Thoros of Myr, his flapping red robes and shaven head, and he has he had once scaled the walls of Pike with a flaming sword in hand. So this weird warrior priest with a flaming sword. And then I think we just get like a shit ton of names and stuff. You know, it's like people from Highgarden and Dorne. And Sir Balin Swan, Lord Bryce Caron, Bronze Jan's heir, Andor Royce or something. Just names and names and names.
Let's try this.
But just names and names and names. Who are these knights?
Right.
Whatever. But they're here. They're here for the tourney, and we also get Halabar, Jalabhar, and then XHO is his last name.
Gotcha.
Just weird, unpronounceable name, because he's an exile prince from the Summer Isles, and he's a canonically black man, because that's where the Summer Isles are from. Yes, because he has like a cape of feathers over his skin as dark as night. So it's anytime you hear Summer Isles, that's like where the people of color are in Game of Thrones. And Lord Beric Dondarrion is also there, who we had heard mentioned in the previous chapter with Ned.
Got you.
Whenever he's, like, going through the city, we see Beric Dondarrion, like, show up. And he...
Oh, yeah.
He has a black shield slashed by lightning. Yeah. And, there's some people from Winterfell also participating, but they are much less fancy looking. We have, like, Jory is this guy who's described, and that his, like, armor and stuff is just, like, less fancy than a lot of these other knights. But he, does quite well in the joust, actually.
Right.
It's like, yeah, just sort of the, a little bit more of that kind of, the theming.
Yeah,
the ways in which, like, all these knights who are super, like, flashy and showy, and then the knights from Winterfell are not, but they are competent.
Yeah.
They don't end up being the ones who go to the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do well, at least right there in the beginning. And then just more tourney stuff. Jane and Sansa are, like, excited to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sansa's like, I'm more composed, and you know, all that.
Yeah, because it's like, Jane covered her eyes whenever a man fell, like a frightened little girl, but Sansa was made of sterner stuff.
Yeah.
A great lady knew how to behave at tournaments. It's interesting because it's like, her and Sansa, or Sansa and Arya just have, like, different sort of conceptions of, like, strength.
Yeah.
You know? Where it's like, Sansa also wants to kind of be not like other girls, you know?
Yeah.
There are two different versions of the not like other girls.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not like other girls, I'm better. And I was like, I'm not like other girls, I'm different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yes, the most terrifying moment of the day came during Sir Gregor's second joust, when his lance rode up and struck a young knight from the Vale under the gorget with such force that it drove through his throat, killing him instantly. The youth fell not 10 feet, not 10 feet from where Sansa was seated. And it's real gruesome.
Yeah.
And Jane Poole wept so hysterically that she had to be, like, taken away. And Sansa sat there with hands folded in her lap, watching with a strange fascination. She had never seen a man die before. She ought to be crying too, she thought, but the tears would not come. Perhaps she had used them up. She had used up all her tears for Lady and Bran. It would be different if it had been Jory or Sir Roderick or father, she told herself.
Yeah.
The young knight in the blue cloak was nothing to her, some stranger from the Vale whose name she had forgotten as soon as she heard it. And now the world would forget his name too. Sansa realized there would be no songs sung for him. That was sad.
Yeah.
She's just like, she doesn't freak out, she just, like, stares at him with, like, existential...
Yeah.
Like, Jane Poole freaks out. Sansa gets existential. It's just like, this is interesting. Death. I've never really thought about it and whatnot. And then Gregor and Renly have a joust, and Renly gets defeated, and he has, like, these golden horns.
Yeah.
And, like, one of them breaks, and he, like, throws... No, he, like, because he fought against Gregor, not Sandor, and Gregor's the Hound. So he's like, here you go, have my, like, bit of golden horn for, like, beating me.
Yeah. And
he's like, I don't give a shit. And so he, like, throws it to the crowd, and they all start, like, fighting over it. And so then Renly has to go, like, calm them down.
Yeah.
Which is just, like, kind of just, like, an interesting little...
thing, like, aside.
A little interesting little aside, just sort of, like, you know, characterizing Renly and the Hound, and also, like, the people, right?
Right.
Jane had been feeling ill, and she went back to the castle. Sansa had almost forgotten about Jane. Sansa just completely forgot about her at this point. Later a hedge knight in checkered cloak disgraced himself by killing Beric Dondarrion's horse. Yeah, Beric just keeps kind of getting name dropped, as well as, like, Thoros of Myr and some of these other folks.
Got you.
And then Loras. Loras
Right.
gets a lot of attention at the tourney. He's the Knight of Flowers. He was the youngest son of Mace Tyrell, the Lord of Highgarden and Warden of the South. He's 16. He's the youngest out there.
Yeah, that's young.
Yep. He had unhorsed 3 knights of the Kingsguard that morning. And Sansa had never seen anyone so beautiful. He's got really fancy armor that's designed like flowers, like a bouquet.
Yeah.
And his snow-white stallion was draped in a blanket of red and white roses. And each time he won, he'd, like, ride around and throw a single white rose from the blanket to someone, to, like, a fair maiden in the crowd. So he's fully being, like, the, like, sort of knight stereotype in terms of, like, the storybook handsome knight of the tourney. Exactly what Sansa wants him to be.
Wants.
Yep. And he ends up giving her a red rose.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, how sweet. And he's got, like, brown curly hair and golden eyes and, you know, all that jazz. And then Peter Baelish shows up and is like, hey, I'm gonna be creepy for a second. Yeah. he shows up like, yeah, you must be one of her daughters.
Right.
You have the Tully look. And she's like, I'm Sansa? And it's like, hey, be nice, this is Peter Baelish. And it's like, your mother was my Queen of Beauty once. You have her hair. And then, like, strokes her hair.
Yeah.
Or, like, his fingers brushed against his cheek as he stroked one auburn lock. And quite abruptly turned and walked away. So he just shows up and is like, hey, your mom is hot.
Basically.
And then, like...
and then leaves.
And then leaves. Good job, Peter Baelish. Yeah, and then it gets late, and they're like, yeah, we'll finish this up tomorrow. The last people in the tourney are, like, Loras, the 2 Cleganes, Gregor and Sandor, and Jaime.
Right.
And it's like, alright, we're gonna finish this up tomorrow. And she, at dinner, is with Prince Joffrey, and is, like, worried that... Because, like, she hasn't talked to him since all this stuff went down. And at first, she was like, I hate him. And then she was like, no, actually, it's like, the Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen's the one who did it.
And
it wasn't
Arya.
really him. The Queen and Arya.
She still blames Arya.
But not Joffrey. Joffrey was too pretty. He was too pretty to be mad at. And she's worried that he'll... ignore her, or worse, get angry again and be a little shit again.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, she's, like, having a good time with him, but also there's now this, like, a little worry in her mind that he'll do something bad. But he's being his usual little shit self.
Yeah.
You know, in a few years, when I'm old enough to enter the list, I shall do for them all. You know, I'll win it all. And, you know, dinner's happening... more, you know, descriptions of the party. There's a fool named Moon Boy who's the king's fool.
Yeah.
And Joffrey's continuing to be nice. And then Robert
starts yelling.
He's causing a scene because Cersei is like...
Cersei forbade him from...
fighting in the melee, and so he's like, fuck you can't tell me what to do. Right. I'm definitely fighting in the melee. And she, you know, her face goes pale, and she gets up and storms off in silence. And he's like, give me my hammer, not a man in the realm can stand before me. And Jaime Lannister's like, as you say, your grace. And so then when that's all over, Joffrey's like, hey Sansa, do you need an escort back to the castle? And she's like,
oh yes, thank you.
And then he's like, dog. Sandor Clegane comes, and he's like, did you think Joff would take you... was going to take you himself, he laughed. I've drunk too much, and I may need to kill my brother tomorrow, so we should both get some sleep.
Yep.
And then it's time for the hounds sad,
right?
Sad boy hours.
Yeah.
It's like time to trauma dump on this child.
Yeah.
I'm drunk and it's late and it's time to trauma dump on this child. Because, she's being all polite to him.
She's not equipped for this.
No, and he's doing it particularly because she's not equipped for this.
Yeah.
It's like, she's, always so nice and complimentary, and he's like, no, fuck you, ain't got anything nice to say about this, and just, gets all up in her face with his, burn scars and stuff. And then he tells the story. He's the Joker. He's like, you wanna know how I got these scars? And... yeah, he's like, when I was, 6 or 7, and Sandor was, I forget, he says, 5 years older. So, the Hound was 6 or 7, and so the Mountain was, 11 or 12 years old. But, still, he was already a squire near 6 foot tall, because, he's currently, almost 8 feet tall. So he's just he probably legitimately has a form of gigantism. Essentially. And he had gotten a toy and the Hound wanted it, and he was already grown up. He was already a squire. He didn't really need it or want it, so I stole it. And then he fucking picked me up and shoved my face into a fire. Yep. And just kind of held me there, and then a bunch of people had to fight him and pull him off. Yeah. And that's why I'm the way that I am, essentially. And he's and then guess what? My brother became a knight. Yep. And so everything's bullshit. He's essentially just everything's bullshit. Everything sucks. Nothing's fair. And I'm gonna
make it everyone else's problem.
I'm gonna make it everyone else's problem. and so we get a little bit of
anyone that might not have that worldview needs to be taught that by him, because how dare they? Essentially,
he's definitely got that in him, but he's also just he's just kind of sad. Yeah. Not in a way that makes it okay, but in a way where Sansa's just oh, you're just kind of sad and pathetic in a way, you know. And he takes her back to her room and is don't tell anyone I said that, or I'll kill you. Yep. And that's and he calls her little bird. It's you're like a parrot. You just repeat whatever the your little septa told you. But she is still nice to him, even though he's being this way, and I think he just doesn't quite know what to to do with that. And so that's Sansa's chapter. It's it's been a day. Yeah. It's ups and downs. The tourney was fun. Someone did die, and that gave me a bit of an existential crisis. And then a drunk man trauma dumped on me. But, all in all...
the party was pretty fun.
No, the party was pretty fun.
Joffrey skipped out on me, but,
But, he's a bit of a dick. I don't want to admit it necessarily, but he is kind of a dick. Yep. You got anything else? All right. And so now, another Ned chapter. And I think this is actually our last chapter for the evening. Yeah. Yeah. And more Ned detective work. Yeah. Because he's there. Sherlock Ned. There we go. That's definitely the
episode title.
That's definitely the episode title. Sherlock Ned.
Because we do get 3 chapters of it.
We do. We get 3 chapters of Sherlock Ned. Although
he's not very good at it.
No, he's not. He's not quite good at it. But he's there with the squire who got fucking stepped through, because that was, he wasn't a squire, he was a knight, but he was the squire to Lord Aaron.
Right, that was the one that he wanted to interview.
That was the one that he wanted to interview. But before he could interview him, he got fucking speared in the throat by Sandor Clegane or Gregor Clegane. I get them so confused. The Mountain. It's easier to be say the Hound and the Mountain than to remember Sandor and Gregor. Which one is correct?
The meaner one.
Yes, the meaner one. Yeah. Yeah, and so he's talking to, like, Barristan and Somi about it. Yeah, the king knighted him before he rode north in Jon's memory. The lad wanted it desperately, yet I fear he was not ready. None of us are ever ready. For knighthood, for death. Yep. And Ned's like, this was needless. War should not be a game.
Yeah.
He just is so not on board with all this, like, bullshit. It's like, why... why are we doing this? Someone literally fucking died.
Yep.
And Barristan's like, the king means to fight in the melee today. And so Ned goes to go see Robert, because, you know, he's like, I gotta go talk to him.
Yeah.
And he's in there with two young squires who are trying to get him in his armor, but they can't.
And he's, like, yelling at him.
Yelling at them. Your Grace, it's made too small, it won't go. He fumbled in the gorget. Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah, Your Grace once said almost in tears. It's like, please, you gotta understand.
It just won't work.
It just won't work. And the squire's name is Lancel, who is he's a Lannister.
Yeah.
And Ned's like, more Lannisters just everywhere. They just like, oh, you need some squires? Here's some of our cousins.
Yep.
You want, you know. Yeah. The boys are not at fault, he told the king. You're too fat for your armor, Robert. Fat? Fat, is it? Is that how you speak to your king?
And then he starts laughing.
Yep, he let go, his laughter sudden as a storm. Ah, damn you, Ned, why are you always right? Go find Sir and Santagar and tell him I need the breastplate stretcher. Now, what are you waiting for? And then he's like, I wish I could be there to see Santagar's face. I hope I'll have the wit to send them to someone else. That ought to keep them running all day, because there is no breastplate stretcher. He's just sent them on a fool's journey. Which, I always remember that...
I don't think I read that properly. I didn't read that part of it properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you drop back into chair shaking with laughter.
Yeah.
Because they actually have that joke in the show where it's like, go fetch me the breastplate stretcher. It's like, how long do you think until he figures out that no, there's no breastplate stretcher? They make it a little bit more obvious. In the show. But yeah. Cousin, son of Lord Tywin's brother. One of the dead ones. Or perhaps a live one, now that I think of it. No, I've comes from a very large family, Ned. A very ambitious family, Ned thought. Yep. And then Robert's like, you know, talking about like, she didn't want me to fight in the tourney. Your sister would have let me fight in the melee. And Ned's like, no, she wouldn't have. Shut up.
Don't pretend like you...
Don't pretend like you know.
Yeah.
Like fucking... Yep. You saw her beauty, but not the iron underneath. She would have told you that you have no business in the melee. You too? And, he's mad.
Yeah.
Robert is really mad.
And he has to be convinced that, like, people would just, like, take it easy on him, and they just wouldn't, like, it just won't be what he wants it to be. Yep.
Sir Barristan Somi's like, you know, who would even hit you? And that's like, I see what you're doing.
Yep.
The fact that it's dangerous isn't going to deter him. No, that's what he wants.
That's what he wants. And to tell him that, like, people...
Like,
won't.
No,
Then it
go
won't
easy
be what
on you.
he's like, what he's going for.
Mm-hmm. And he gets like so legitimately angry at this.
Yeah.
He like throws something at Barristan and is like, "Get out of here before I kill you."
Not you, Ned.
Not you, Ned. Drink. I have no thirst. Drink. Your king commands it. You were the one who should have been king. You were Jon. You had the better claim, your grace. I told you to drink, not to argue. You made me king. The least you could do is have the courtesy to listen when I talk, damn you. Look at me, Ned. Look at what kinging has done to me. Gods, too fat for my armor. How did it ever come to this? Robert, drink and stay quiet. The king is talking. I swear to you, I was never so alive as when I was winning this throne, or so dead now that I've won it.
Yeah.
He's just like, not... happy being king, really. It's like, in some ways he is, because it's like, oh, I'm the king, I get to like
do whatever I want
and have all these like parties and stuff. And then it's like, what do you mean I have to actually be a king in the sense of like a ruler who deals with legislation and economy and
people
Yeah, and he's like, fuck my fucking wife, and...
Because he did it for revenge, not for, like, a specific, like, political goal. No. It was for revenge.
It was just for revenge, you know? And it's like, well, now we've conquered the kingdom for revenge. Who's gonna be the king?
Right.
And the Baratheons have the best claim, I guess, you know. They probably... My guess is that there was probably some sort of,
blood relation
to the Targaryens somewhere. Yeah. That's like, yeah, sure, you know, technically, if you follow the line.
Yeah, that would, legitimize it with allies of the Targaryens to kind of bring that in.
Yep. And then, and Robert's like, I am sorry for your girl, Ned, truly. About the wolf, I mean. My son was lying. I'd stake my soul on it. My son... You love your children, don't you? With all my heart, Ned said. And then he's like, let me tell you, I think sometimes about just, fucking off to Essos and just living the mercenary life. But the thought of Joffrey on the throne, with Cersei standing behind him, whispering in his ear, my son, how could I have made a son like that, Ned?
Yeah.
It's like, and then Ned's like, he's only a boy, he said awkwardly. He had small liking for Prince Joffrey, but he could hear the pain in Robert's voice. Yeah. Have you forgotten how wild you were at his age? It would not trouble me if the boy was wild, Ned, and you don't know him as I do. And he doesn't, get into it, but
he's like, no, he's fucked.
No, he's fucked. He's, actually, a piece of shit. Yeah. I grew into a good king. You might speak up and agree now, you know. Your grace. Say that I'm a better king than Aerys and be done with it. You never could lie for love nor honor. Yeah. And then he's just starts going off. It's just starts talking about other bullshit.
Yeah.
Talking about the tourney and hey, you know the Knight of Flowers? Mace Tyrell's boy? Now there's a son any man would be proud to own. And, you know, it eventually we get sort of an ellipsis, and it's just they had breakfast and they talked
for a while.
For a long while. And Ned's now that they've gone from the anger to just talking.
This is nice.
This is nice. This was the boy he had grown up with, he thought. This was the Robert Baratheon he'd known and loved. If he could prove that the Lannisters were behind the attack on Bran, prove that they had murdered Jon Arryn, this man would listen. Then Cersei would fall, and the Kingslayer with her, and if Lord Tyrone dared to rouse the West, Robert would smash him, as he had smashed Rhaegar Targaryen on the Trident. He could see it all so clearly, and it's see, he's still... I can still, you know, Ned's still holding on to this,
I can just convince him.
This, picture of the man that he used to know. I really love this conversation between Ned and Robert. Just, Robert talking about, who he is now versus who he used to be. And, he's a guy who peaked in high school, essentially. Who still just wants to be that guy.
It's true!
But it's he's not. He's not, and also he hates being king. He didn't want to be king. He just wanted to kill the prince because of revenge.
Yep.
And so it's just it's such a interesting little conversation. Even though it's not really a conversation, it's just kind of
just listening.
Just sort of Robert monologuing and Ned having to listen to him. But then Ned goes off to the tourney. He goes and sits with Sansa and watches the tourney.
Yep. And Septa. Is that?
Yeah.
She's sick or whatever. I'm assuming she's hungover because she was drinking at the feast. And
stuff. Yeah. I hadn't.
I just thought that was kind of funny because it's the whole she's always so in control because we always see it from Arya and Sansa, and to have her be she
right, because she
got super drunk
and she was asleep because Sansa, whenever it was oh, do you need an escort, she was
no, she'll take me. Oh, well.
It's oh, yes, for sure. And she's super excited about it. I hadn't really I hadn't focused on her the whole time, so that's great. Yeah. Septa Mordain, I think is her name.
Yeah. I'm oh, she's a little hungover.
But yeah, so Sandor, who's the Hound, he's going to be going up against Sir Jaime Lannister.
Yeah. So
Littlefinger's 100 gold on the Kingslayer, and Renly takes him up on it. But Peter's even hungry dogs know better than to bite the hand that feeds them, because he works for the Lannisters.
Right,
and
right.
so he's like, he's not gonna beat Jaime. He, like, works for the Lannisters, and it would look bad.
Yeah.
But, no, he does anyway.
He does it anyway, yeah.
He beats him, and, like, Jaime's, like, helmet gets, like...
Yeah, so then he has to go get it, pried off.
Yeah, it's like, it gets, like, dented and, like, fully, like...
Turned over his eyes.
And so they have to, like, lead him away and, like, pry it off. And, Sansa's like, I knew he was going to win. Yeah, I knew the Hound would win. Littlefinger overheard. Well, if you know who's going to win second match, speak up now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, then we have the Mountain, who's going to be going up against, the Knight of Flowers, Loras Tyrell. And, but before that happens...
Right, and someone has a weird horse.
Yes, there's a whole thing about that. But Ned's thinking about all these rumors that he's heard about the Mountain, that, like, he lives kind of like, he doesn't live at court, he's over in his own place, he's gone through a few wives, and there's rumors about just, like, random people disappearing at his place. That he's, this implication that he's essentially just, like, murdering random people all the time. Yeah,
like his servants disappear.
Yep, yeah. He would soon be married to his, for the third time, and one heard dark whispers about the deaths of his first two wives. It was said that his keep was a grim place where servants disappeared unaccountably, and even the dogs were afraid to enter the hall. The hunting accident that killed their father, Gregor, had... inherited the keep, the gold, and the family estates. His younger brother Sandor had left the same day to take service with the Lannisters as a sworn sword, and it was said that he never returned, not even to visit. Yeah. So it's like, he seemed like, everyone seems to know...
And the dad threatened... No, that was a different family. Never mind. Don't worry about it. I was thinking hunting accident, and then I started going, and then I realized I was incorrect. Never mind.
Yep, I get you though, because it's like all these people fucking dying in hunting accidents. Never go hunting in Westeros. You're gonna get fucking murdered for political reasons. Yeah, and the Knight of Flowers, Sir Loras Tyrell shows up. And he's all pretty boy, anime sparkles. He's got, like, flowers made of sapphires on his armor. And, he's got a cloak woven of forget-me-nots. Real ones, hundreds of fresh blooms sewn to a heavy woolen cape. He's just, the most. Absolutely the most.
Very over the top.
Very over the top. And so, yeah, they're gonna have their fight. And Sir Loras is riding on a female horse, and Clegane's horse is, like, going crazy. And Peter's like, he chose a horse that was in heat to throw off the Mountain's horse to make his horse not ride right, because, it's distracted. And so he beats the Mountain, and the Mountain fucking kills his own horse.
Yeah.
He just, like, gets so mad that he just kills his horse and starts attacking Loras.
Right. And so then they have to, like, pull him off.
Yeah, the Hound shows up and starts, like, fighting him. Yeah. Like, and this is another thing that's, like, in the show. The king is like, stop! And the Hound gets down on one knee, like, kneels before the king, and then the sword, like, flies over his head. He, like, dodges by, like, kneeling down, which I believe they do in the show as well. Because I can just, like, picture it in my head. It's just, like, shit goes crazy, and he has, stop this madness in the name of your king. And Sansa's like, so does that make the Hound the champion now? Yeah. And Ned's like, no, that's not how it works. But then Loras is like, you saved my life, you win. And he's like,
well, I guess you're right.
Well, I guess you're right. He's like, piss off, I'm not a knight, but also, yes, I will accept this. He took the victory and the champion's purse, and for perhaps the first time in his life, the love of the commons. Because he was actually the hero that time.
Because he saved their favorite.
Right. And, Tyrell had to know the mayor was in heat. I swear the boy planned the whole thing. Gregor has always favored huge, ill-tempered stallions with more spirit than sense. And that's what Littlefinger says. Yep. And then the melee happens.
Yeah.
and everyone's fighting, and in the end, the victor is Thoros of Myr, the flaming sword guy.
Yeah.
Because turns out having a flaming sword
was nice.
is good for intimidation. It spooks the horses and freaks everyone out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's kind of hilarious. This just motherfucker with a flaming sword in the middle of the melee, and everyone's like, "Who the fuck is this guy? With the what?" Yeah. And then, the final tally was 3 broken limbs, a shattered collarbone, a dozen smashed fingers, 2 horses that had to be put down, and more cuts, sprains, and bruises than anyone cared to count. Ned was desperately pleased that Robert had not taken part. Yep. And then, afterwards, meet back up with, Arya, and Sansa's like, the tournament was great, you should have come, how's your dancing? I'm sore all over. You must be a terrible dancer. I hope Pharrell is not being too hard on you, Ned's saying.
Yeah.
Every pain is a lesson, and every lesson makes you better, and he's like...
It's like this teacher is weird, and I don't know. Maybe we should find you a different teacher.
It's like, I could get a regular master at arms who could teach you regular shit instead of doing this bullshit anime training. Having her wear a blindfold so she has to find her way with touch and sounds, and having her balance on one leg, and they're gonna go chase cats. Yep, gonna go chase cats. Tomorrow we're going to catch cats. And, she's like, no, I want Syrio. I want him to continue to be my teacher. And then,
all that balance stuff sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love doing that type of stuff and climbing around and...
Yep. And they do note that she's getting better at the standing on one leg.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think Ned's just kind of he goes back to, the Tower of the Hand, and it's just looking out over the yard, looking at Littlefinger's window and just pondering. It's why would the dwarf want Bran dead? Why would anyone want Bran dead? What's going on? And why, that boy was obviously Robert's son, but why does, Jon Arryn care? Why would anyone care?
Right.
He's a bastard. He's not
in
line for the throne. Even Cersei, I'm sure she's not happy that he's going out doing this stuff, but they're not any threat politically.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about Robert's first child, who's some random lady out in the Vale, she's probably 18 something years old, older than Robert was when he fathered her. That's weird to think about. And then it's oh, someone's here to see you, and it's Lord Varys, but he's in disguise, and he's I got news for you. It's a good thing that you talked him out of going to the melee, because they were going to try and kill him.
Right.
And it's who? If I have to tell you who, then you're more of a fool than Robert is. It's the Lannisters.
Because it's wait, but she didn't want him to participate or whatever, and he's are you kidding? She forbade him in front of everyone to do it. That's the best way to get him to do it.
Right.
If you wanted to guarantee he did something, how would you do it?
Yep.
That's how you would do it.
He's super susceptible to that kind of reverse psychology shit, and so it's well, why didn't you tell me sooner? And then what would you have done? Gone and told him about it?
Yeah.
And then he would
have gone and done it just to be
I'm not scared of them. And it's he is right. He is right about that. Yeah. Yep. And north or south, they sing no songs for spiders. It's just a little line from him. And he's why not come to me, you ask? I must answer, why? Because I did not trust you, my lord. You did not trust me. The Red Keep shelters 2 sorts of people, Lord Eddard. Those who are loyal to the realm, and those who are loyal only to themselves. I could not say which you would be. Now I know for certainty. Yeah. And he's the king cares about you.
Yeah.
He would not kill you, not even for his queen, and there may lie our salvation. He's I think that you will be a good ally to actually keep the king safe and stuff. Surely Robert has other loyal friends. His brother, his wife, Varys finished. Yeah, his brothers hate the Lannisters, true enough, but hating the queen and loving the king are not not quite the same thing. Sir Barristan loves his honor, Grandmaster Pycelle loves his office, and Littlefinger loves Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what about the Kingsguard? It's like, don't be a fool. Like, Jaime's on the Kingsguard, and he's with the Lannisters. You know who he's with. It's like, we have to tell Robert that they're planning to kill him. It's like, yeah, and what proof do we have?
Yeah.
Like, really? And, what do you think he's gonna do? You're making the most anxious, Lord Eddard. When you see me next at council, be certain to treat me with your accustomed contempt. You should not find it difficult.
Yeah.
Varys, how did Jon Arryn die?
Yeah, because he's speaking differently as well.
Yes, he is speaking differently. He's not using his, like, normal tone. He's, like...
more straightforward.
More straightforward and sounds more serious. I wondered when you would get around to that. Tell me. The tears of Lys, they call it. A rare and costly thing, clear and sweet as water, and it leaves no trace. I begged Lord Arryn to use a taster. In this very room I begged him, but he would not hear of it. Only one who is less than a man would even think of such a thing, he told me. Who gave him the poison? There was one boy. All he owed to Jon Arryn, and when the widow fled to the Eyrie with her household, he stayed in King's Landing and prospered. It always gladdens my heart to see the young rise in the world. A pity he died so untimely before you could talk to him. The squire, Sir Hugh. Why now? Jon Arryn had been hand for 14 years. What was he doing that they had to kill him? Asking questions, Varys said, slipping out the door. Yep. So, Varys has some info. Yeah. He's like, no, it's definitely poison. I know specifically what poison, and I know who did it. His squire is the one who poisoned him, but why?
Yeah.
Who put him up to it, essentially. Yeah. Yep. And Varys seems to be like, oh, I'm on the king's side. Yeah. And I want to keep him alive. But, like, why does Varys want Robert alive? What does, like, Varys, like, want, Yeah. What are his motivations? I don't know. It's a big question. A lot of people are like, what are Varys's true motives? Right. Yeah. What are his true motives? What does he want? If he wants... Because also it's like, oh, he wants to protect the realm, supposedly, because he's like...
Right, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
You could have so many different...
interpretations. Right. Yeah. And it's like, Robert's not necessarily, like, a good king. Right, so, like, getting him out of here, would that be the worst? It's like, well, if it ends up being then the Lannisters who are in charge, and we don't really like the Lannisters, so it's probably better to have Robert, but, who's to say? Right. So... Yep, and that's the end of our chapters. Yeah. Lots of intrigue, lots of Sherlock Ned. Yep. Any thoughts, any theories, any questions you have going into the next section?
I don't think so. I think I'm...
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's definitely like
I don't have enough information.
Yeah.
And the Lannisters are, like, suspicious, but, like...
Right.
They're the Lannisters.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's like we really only seen them be suspicious except for, like, Tyrion. Yeah. And, of course, Tyrion's the one who's being framed. Yeah. So, yeah. Alrighty then. So now that we're done with the chapter by chapter, I do already have our next section planned out. I have it like marked here. It might be another 6 chapters. It might be a little bit more. I'd have to like look through it again. I don't remember. We're ending on another Ned chapter, I believe. Gotcha. But that's, there's been a lot of them. A lot of the plot is around King's Landing, so... But yeah, so what we've been reading.
Yeah, I finished up, I talked a little bit about it earlier, but I finished up the beginning part of the Red Rising series, the first trilogy. And it was a ride. It was great. Actually, like we were just talking to like one of our friends, and her friend had like just read the first three books or whatever. So
the first like 2 books, I think.
I think the first 3. Oh. But like he hadn't told like her much of the third book.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's been a great series. I'm excited to get back into it. I needed to take a little bit of a break because it was extremely intense for, like, all of the books. Especially, like, the first 2 books are, like, just intense the whole time, because it's spy, you know.
It's like, oh, we're gonna get caught.
Yeah, like, all of that type of stuff. So it's very tense, but really, really good.
Yep.
And I'm excited to get into the next series. There's 3 more that are out, and then the 4th book should be out next year. But...
And I haven't been reading anything else, per se. I have been continuing to put off Wheel of Time, as is tradition.
Yeah.
You listen to some more Magnus?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I haven't been doing as much reading and stuff. I've just been, like, at work.
Yeah.
And I'll be, like, listening to, like, the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
I have been listening to stuff by this one lady, Alyssa something. Who's, like, an ex-Mormon.
Yeah.
And some of her videos. Because she did a video on, like, the whole Ruby Frankie stuff.
Yeah.
Which you had talked about with me. But I hadn't, like, seen any like, videos talking about it. And so, like, I watched a video for talking about it because they were Mormon. And there's, like, Mormon stuff in there.
Yeah, that's a whole crazy... Like, I had kind of been following it, like, since 8 Passengers started being kind of controversial, like, years and years ago. And so, like, then all of a sudden, like, the connections and, like, the Moms of Truth stuff started, like, happening. And everyone was really concerned and, like... trying to figure out what was happening, like, over, like, a long period of time, and then, like, the arrest happened and everything, and it's just, I've been following it for quite a while.
Yeah, and hearing about it, it is a lot. She didn't talk about all the, like, the details of, like, the stuff that was happening.
Yeah. More the Mormon aspect of it.
Yes, and just that stuff was happening. She was like, I did find, like, somewhere, like, on, like, Reddit or something, the, like, pictures of...
Yeah.
And she was like, basically everyone was like, I wish that I hadn't seen
them. Yeah. No,
and she was like, and I feel that way too. So, you know, I'm not going to link to them, but if you really want to, I'm sure you can find them somewhere.
They actually, I don't think it was the newest documentary, but it's a previous, like, like, piece that, like, someone had done on, like, the family.
Yeah.
They showed the pictures of, like, the kids and stuff without warning them to Sherry and her dad. Without, like...
Yeah.
Like, without warning, without, like, nothing. Just, like... And, yeah. Without their consent, just, like...
Yeah, that's not...
And that's horrible. Like, and... Because Sherry wrote about it in her book, and she's like, she had never even seen them. Right. At that point. She had purposefully stayed away from it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't imagine, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds intense, and because one of the things that she did play in the video, because there's like a recording of like the guy who like called
the 911 call.
Yeah, and just like hearing just like him, the emotion in his voice, it's intense.
And because he's trying to like keep it together for the kid too, and not like stress him out too much.
Right. Yeah, it's just oof.
Yeah.
You know, and so then she's crying, and
then,
it's like, oh man. Yeah, that was the part that definitely like, got me. I think I was driving home at that point when I was like listening to that bit, and I'm like, ooh, that's the part that like got me a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, hearing about the like ex-Mormon stuff has been super interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the like with missions that like they literally like cannot be apart from each other. They have to be in like the same room. Like if you go into another room, you have to follow. If they go into the bathroom, you have to be right outside the door, just like waiting for them. It's like super creepy. Yeah.
It's the most kind of cult or like people use like high control kind of aspect.
Yeah, called it the cult within the cult is the mission stuff.
Yeah.
Like, super high control. And she talked about like her mission president or whatever inviting like her and a bunch of other women who were like missionary people, because like she had like some sort of like slightly higher thing, and like I forget, I don't remember the names for these things. I don't remember. Just like I think she was like teaching like new mission people how to be missionaries kind of thing, because she was in like and like all these women to, like, come over to his house, and they had, like, a sleepover, and it was like, you're not supposed to do that, but it's like the mission president said to do it, so it's like, I guess it's okay, and, you know, it's like, we're all, like, doing the, like, the stereotypical girls, like, sleepover stuff, the pillow fights, and we're in our pajamas and all this sort of stuff, and then we're like literally sitting at his feet as he's like telling us about like when you know are gonna get married and do all these things, and it's like it was super weird. And then I looked him up later, and his like brother had like a bunch of like allegations, like, you know, charges against him for like stuff that was happening at their like family farm and whatnot, and and like he was like, and he would mention that farm like all the time, and like, you know, there was nothing against him, but like his brother, and then him, like the stuff that he like said, like commenting on like, I forget exactly, but just like it was just weird, like weird, and it's like, so nothing specifically about him, but you know, and so that was interesting. So that's what I've, I guess, been quote reading. What I've been consuming. I'm excited to get back into the Red Rising series. Oh, and did I ever talk about, I don't think I ever talked about this on the podcast, but like I meant to like a while back. I think I talked with you about it like individually outside of the podcast, because it's like, and this is something going back to like the Mistborn stuff. Because there's like the bit in Mistborn where Elend is talking about how his father like took him to a brothel. And I was like, I thought that was weird. And I saw like a video by FD Signifier. Where he was talking about like masculinity stuff, and like this video of these guys like, and they're on like a video call with this kid, and they're like making comments to him, and like like inappropriate comments, but not like they're actually like, it's like making gay jokes so that he'll, you know, and like, oh, we should like find you a woman to like get with, and whenever he's like being like, that's kind of weird, they're like, well, what are you, gay or whatever, and then talking about like how people get like pressured into like certain things, and this one guy, I think one of the guys from like Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, talking about how his dad took him to like a brothel when he was young to like lose his virginity or whatever, and I was just like, it just sort of made me kind of like reflect on that from Mistborn, and how it was like sort of more like
a thing that like happens.
That I was sort of just like less like aware of. And so it just kind of like colored my perception of that a little bit more. Because FD Signifier has a lot of good videos and stuff.
I really like his stuff.
So that was all. Because I had like saw like a while ago and meant to like say something on the podcast, and then like forgot. And so I remembered now, and I'm like, I want to throw that in there. So any last things that we got?
No, I could probably talk about Red Rising for like 30 minutes, but but I'm not gonna do that.
Well, I guess it's just time for the like, comment, and subscribe. You know the YouTube things. Leave a comment.
Comments are always the best.
They're always appreciated.
I love seeing what people say.
We see all the comments. We see all, like, every like. You know, counts.
It always makes us very happy.
It's and hey, I mean, if you made it all the way this far, you're contributing to the watch time, which is great.
Which is great.
Because these videos get like less watched, or like, because like
more views but less watch time than the Cradle videos.
Yes, or at least some of them do. I think some of the Game of Thrones videos have like more watch time, but like the like last couple, it was like had less. But of course the new Cradle video has very few views, but that was the case last time. But I'm sure once we're like done with the book or whatever, people will come back.
When we were done with the first Cradle book, we had like way more
views on it, and
on
like
both of them.
And and the other one got views too. So you know, just little YouTube things. But this has been Let's Talk About Book, and now you can go forth and think about book on your own time. Have a lovely whatever time it is.
Have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.